This is Mark KIRK. I looked into him before. What was stupid enough to believe the media, the articles that say, oh, it doesn't mention any offspring. Actually, they would always say there's no relation to Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I call bullshit on that now. The reason being is because there's nothing you're told about Charlie Kirk that is true. He was a former Never Trumper. That actually came out after his death because there was a girl that put out a TikTok and she worked for Turning Point, like here in Illinois, like in their Chicago branch at one time. This was early on though. She said it was from 2014 to 2017. She was in awe of Charlie Kirk, okay? She was impressed with them, but she said they didn't take on all these social issues. That's key because Turning Point did. In the beginning, apparently, they didn't. But she said what was more disturbing was that he said that he could never vote for Donald Trump. And then when he saw the writing on the wall that Trump was going to get elected, then all of a sudden the whole company shifted until she left. So the entire background that they give you with Kirk and who his parent is a bunch of bullshit, okay? It is total bullshit. So here's one of the reasons why. Okay, he got this Republican, really rhino, serving the Democrats. He got Barack Obama's Senate seat, okay? There was a big mess here in Illinois. People may have learned about it. Rod Blagojevich went to jail. It was all about selling Obama's Senate seat, okay? Well, he ended up getting it. Yeah, they gave it to a Republican. So that should tell you, it wasn't. He's not a Republican. But he plays a good one. I mean, he votes 87% of the time with the Republicans. However, he had Obama's old seat from 2010 until he lost to Tammy Duckworth in 2016, okay? But in 2010, he had a stroke, and he drove himself, because he was having a headache and all these symptoms, he drove himself to Lake Forest Hospital. That's key, because, see, Charlie Kirk there, who, graduated from Wheeling High School. Well, Wheeling, Elk Grove, all this area, okay, Wheeling is 20 minutes from Lake Forest Hospital. What a coincidence, right? Yeah. He's former Navy. See, I love the military, but out of all the military, the Navy's the ones I trust the least. Because I encountered two chief nursing officers at my first job that were so corrupt, and then I found out a few years ago they were both former Navy, and I'm like, oh. But if you look into who the intelligence agencies recruit a lot, it's former Navy. So he is former Navy. The stroke didn't affect him, but they had to remove like a big portion of his skull on the right side, and you can see that here because this is him today or in the last several years. Yeah, he's not in politics anymore, but still up to no good, of course, in my opinion. Well, yeah, he is. So he married Kimberly Vertoli, a naval intelligence officer, in 2001. After meeting at the Pentagon, they divorced in 2009 with no mention of offspring in records. He has not remarried publicly, and his personal life centers on career and recovery from his stroke. So the thing is currently what he's been up to is that as of 2025, Kirk remains active in lobbying, consulting at the intersection of business, politics, and society, leveraging his Navy Reserve background and congressional experience. But he's also on boards including the International Republican Institute, National Defense University Foundation, and African Middle Eastern Leadership Project. Kirk also holds a United Nations Foundation Arthur H. Vandenberg Distinguished Fellowship focusing on U.S.-China relations and global policy. And then He belonged to this secret society called Seal and Serpent. I had done so many videos about, there's so many of them. This is how the devil does it. A Seal and Serpent is at Cornell. They've been around since 1905, okay? But in 2016, they changed from strictly male to becoming, shifting to become inclusive, gender neutral. So they started welcoming females. Yeah, so there you could see all of the people up to no good, don't care what any of them think, up to no good. Seal and Serpent functions as a social club distinct from a secret society. Yeah, right. But if you look into the background, it's been around since 1905, out of Cornell. Of course, they're always out of these elite colleges. I mean, Satan created the universities, many of them, especially the elite ones. So, yes, he was actually, while at Cornell, Mark KIRK served as the president of the Seal and Serpent Society. KIRK later obtained a master's degree from the London School of Economics and a juris from Georgetown University. Yep, all the red markers there. Seal and Serpent Society formed April 2nd, 1905 by the merger of two Cornell University undergraduate groups, the Crooks Club and the Senators. Well, that makes such sense now, doesn't it? The Crooks Club and the Senator, of course, absolutely. The Crooks and the Senators merging to become the Seal of the Serpent absolutely makes total sense why the country's been down spiraling into hell. Members of the two societies met during the Cornell Army ROTC drill practice. Although initially an informal group, the 10 original members met in the fall of 1905 to formalize the fraternity and elect officers, all that crazy. And then they stayed all male dominated, because most of them are. It's like Rome. It's all the continuation of the gay bath party, and then they wanted to become inclusive. Oh, we're going to let members in. So what may be important, to think about here while you're believing the media about Mark KIRK's background or about Charlie KIRK at all, because, Charlie KIRK wasn't ever Trumper. He was. Is that there's an awful, similarity there. That's Mark KIRK, back during his Seal and Serpent days. So former Navy, was married to a Navy intelligence officer, met her at the Pentagon, got Barack Obama's seat, was supposedly a Republican, just happens to be living in the same area as Charlie KIRK was growing up, but he had no kids or had no relation. Right. Sure. Right. The very fact that he would get Obama's seat tells you that he was never a Republican. But this is what they do. Republicans have said this for years. The Democrats do this shit all the time. Now, his voting records showed that he voted with Republicans 87% of the time. But still, that's not saying a whole lot. And then they always do the shit that Tom Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene claim, which is, well, I'm my own person. You sure are, aren't you? It's just, you're just, being a shill for the other party. You infiltrated, because this is what Democrats do. This is what serpents do. This is what dirtbags like Charlie KIRK do. And look, he would have put the pieces together, okay? Seal and Serpent, please.